Thanks for checking us out here. Slingin Dirt Media. I'm in the shop with Ethan Burgess. Burgess Consulting, Motorsports here. Man, Ethan, you got a lot going on.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a busy 2 years, that's for sure.
Busy 2 years. You've only been doing the consulting for 2 years.
Yes.
Let's back up. Before we get into all of that and the current stuff, where did you start at?
Man, back when I was 5 years old, started in go-karts, Middletown, Ohio. Never forget it. You know, one of my first races, you know, the Hilton boys down here in Sharonville. They hooked my grandpa up with a go-kart, went to the track just to try it out, and ever since then I was hooked.
Which track was this?
Middletown, I think Speedway is what they call it. It used to be at like an old amusement park, fairgrounds.
Yeah, Americana. Real close
Probably.
to Americana.
I was young back then, yeah.
So that's how old Americana is. That's dating myself there.
Yeah.
So there was a place up there, Abco, I remember going to and getting some parts and stuff.
Yep, and it used to be right there in front there. Yes, I do remember that.
That's a long time ago for me.
Yeah, so that's where everything got started.
So I feel like before they went to that Middletown area, they had a place like in Sharonville on like Princeton Road. This would have been before, maybe, I think, if my memory serves me right, I think it was before Middletown, before they moved up there. They had a place on Princeton Road, right? Oh, gosh, I can't even remember the name of there was like a restaurant out there, had an old train caboose out front and everything. And it's a long time ago.
Probably a little bit before me.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But yeah, I do remember they moved up to Middletown area there, and there used to be an amusement park. Americana was up there, not quite as big as Kings Island or anything like that. I was just making sure that was the same place.
Yep.
So.
Yeah,
okay.
Same place.
So you were racing up there.
Yep, raced up there, Lawrenceburg Speedway, and then, you know, we really started venturing out doing the WK, the World Karting Association stuff, you know, Cridersville, Waynesfield. I mean, there was times we were racing Friday, Saturday, Sunday with the go-karts, and, you know, my brother was in it for a little bit, so we got to do that together. Made it to Daytona once for one of the championships, like Ohio Light Championship, something like that. Went down there, raced in Daytona, and once we scaled out of the go-karts, man, believe it or not, took a turn for 2 years in asphalt.
Really?
Yeah.
How was the asphalt world?
Not as exciting as the dirt world. Yeah. But I will say we raced a lot more than what we did in the dirt. And I mean, I know, you know, dirt racing is pretty big and guys racing 70, 80 times a year, but we were racing close to 80 times in one summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is slinging dirt and everything, but I've been to some asphalt races and stuff and different forms of it, and it's just I've tried the different stuff, and I never could get into it.
Right. Well, you saw where I ended back up. So
back on the good side.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 2 years was good enough for me, but it was a good experience, you know, just to get that avenue of racing, and I think it did teach me a lot driving style wise, getting back into the dirt world, but. I raced asphalt against guys like Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, you know, all those younger guys that are in NASCAR
how old were you at that point?
Oh, when I started in the asphalt, I raced that from 10 to 12.
Okay.
Yep. So we did the Bandoleros.
You're real young. You're a kid still.
Yes, that's right. And you know, in asphalt, they had different age groups. So I was racing against people my age, but certain events they put everybody together. And never nailed a championship in that. Was close twice. Second year we were like 2 points out of it. You know, but we decided that was the end of that. And then 12 years old, jumped into a crate late model and
crate late model. So that's where you started the full size cars.
Yep. On dirt. For a little over one season, and by the time I was 13, I was in a full-blown super racing at Moeller. And
time to do it.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and I got to give it to, you know, Kevin and Kim Moeller at that time. I was 13 years old, and parents were turning me loose in 800 horsepower, you know, dirt late model against guys. I mean, on that, every Friday night they were pulling 20, 30 cars.
Yes.
And
back then,
yeah. And I went to an open practice, and they said, yeah, you can come race here on a weekly basis, and just made more sense to do that because crate racing we had to travel at least all the way out to Brownstown. Sure. So it's easier to do it with the super then. Yeah. From there, raced the super for 6-7 years in the super, and it took a little bit of a break. You know, we had some family illness, so we took a little bit of a break from racing for a minute, and then jumped back into it for another year or two. And then I ended up driving for Rick Bryant back into a crate late model for a couple of years.
Yeah, I was going to say, you drove for Rick for a while.
Yeah, and let me tell you, going from a super to a crate is not as easy as it seems. You know,
really?
Everybody thinks that, hey,
it'd be a lot easier, I would think.
Yeah, because half the horsepower and all that. Yeah. No, the whole footwork, the driving style has got to be a little bit
You're expecting
different.
the car to do this, and when it can't respond like that or doesn't have enough horsepower to what you're like, Okay.
Yeah, I
really choked down.
Yes, I hate to admit it, but in probably my whole racing career throughout a late model, I've maybe spun out like once or twice. Okay. I did it twice in 1 weekend in a crate car. So
because it wouldn't go.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I will say it's probably the one time I spun out was probably the slowest spin out I've ever had. You know, you drove it into the corner, expecting it to stick, and it stuck. And it was one of those in a super you can throttle through it. Crate, you don't have the power to throttle through it.
So it is not happening.
Yeah, it's in the gas, and I was just slowly spinning out.
So when you started driving the super late model, what kind of chassis did you have?
We had a Bob Pierce at that time. Yep, and this was before Bobby was even racing. The only reason I remember this is when the kid mods were a thing.
Yeah.
They took him to Moeller, and Bob knew we had one of the cars, so he actually helped us work on it. You know, back then, and it was shortly after that. You know, Bobby jumped into a late model.
A late model.
Yeah. So it was just cool to kind of see that experience and actually work with him, and then I got to drive one of the kid mods, and then stick with the late model thing, and then after that, went with a rocket chassis.
Okay.
And then when I ended my super career, we had a Longhorn. Just about the time Longhorn was really, taking off for their stuff. Yeah, but it wasn't, the latest and greatest thing. But it was a Longhorn.
They've come a long way.
They've came a long, long way. Yes, and I give it to Justin. I know Justin pretty well, and obviously McCready is a good family friend, so know all those guys. But just seeing the Longhorn chassis evolve over the last 4, 5, 6 years, especially with what Rumley's did with them, is amazing. It's changed the late model game.
But, yeah, you could definitely say that.
Yes,
I mean you got guys now scratching their heads trying to, I don't know how to manage it, how to keep it all in the same box, how to make it equal for everybody. I mean, it's obviously not at this time. I mean, you got major chassis builders that are struggling. I mean, maybe not week to week, but they have their bad nights.
They do, yeah. And we kind of talked about before, just the way the chassis have evolved. When I even raced, the box to operate in was big. The chassis absorbed that flex into the racetrack, and you could actually drive the race cars. Now we can drive the cars a lot harder later in the night than what we have been, but that box of air is very, very small.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, if you make an adjustment that was 20, 30 pounds out of the wrong way, well, that's going to be that couple tenths that puts you from second to 10th.
Sure. Yeah. Second to 10th. Not like out of the top 5. You're dropping 10 spots real easy.
Because, I mean, I really can't name a race this year that I've watched somebody drive from the tail. At a national event, at a Lucas World of Outlaws, that drive from the tail to the front. It just doesn't happen anymore. Everybody's so close.
I hate it. I kind of feel like maybe those days are almost gone, because everything is so close. I really kind of feel like, and I don't know that it's a thing or if it's going to be a thing, I almost wish some of the tire rules would open up. And I don't know if it's because of the tire shortages or what, but I feel like, man, if they would open that up a little bit, then you've got guys that can take chances or guess a little bit.
Exactly.
When you've got some variables there, you might, like I said, you may have guys that may go harder or softer, and that's going to come into play mid race or late race, and then you might have some good racing later in the race, where now it's just the first 10 laps is going to be like the last 10 laps.
Right. And like you said, some people are struggling now with some of the new rules and the tire rules that we have to be on and stuff. So a lot of guys are on the same stuff now. And I don't drive like Jonathan Davenport, McCready, or Josh Richards, any of those guys. And the guys that I help, don't do that.
Right. There's probably not too many people that do.
No. But everybody's on the same stuff, because that's what makes the car work. And I can remember back when I raced, one of my favorite races, talking about coming from the tail to the front, was Moeller Raceway Park. It was like one of the first or 2-3 races in the season, and there was a mix up on the first lap. I had to go to the tail because I was one of the cars involved in the caution. But that was when the rules really weren't as strict or tight as they were, and I came from 15th all the way to 2nd that night. And if Chad Stapleton ends up watching this, I know he knows, but I'll apologize. I hit him at the flag stand, pretty hard coming up through the field. But it was one of those nights that if you could get up on the wheel and drive and had something different than the other guy, you could come to the front, to the back. And it made racing exciting. I mean, I remember watching in the video when I crossed the finish line, it was even in second place, everybody in the stands was on their feet.
Right.
And like I said, we don't have that competition of racing right now.
Yes.
And it makes it tough.
You talk about the rules, it's like, even these, it's like the rules are so close. Everybody's car is so identical.
Yeah.
It's other than driver error or driving styles making the cars faster, slower. There's not. I mean, you got the best shock packages.
Yeah.
The aero is so important. You know, people don't realize, well, it's just a box car. Well, it is, but when the car's on a racetrack, and people do not realize there are some good camera shots, and we'll have to work some of these in. There's some shots where these cars are not square.
Oh no.
They used to be fairly squared off. Now they're all crooked and they're shaped like a banana, and when they get up on the bars, man, they're just like a big air tunnel. It's like one big giant wing.
It is.
People that don't know don't realize how much every little thing has affected the sport.
Oh yeah,
to where we are.
Yeah, and
the droop rule.
Yeah, the droop rule. Yeah, but back to the body thing before we get into the droop rule. But yeah, you're right. It made things simpler and a little bit racing competitive back then. And aero is big and is a big advantage. But man, anymore guys got to take apart half their bodies just to put it in the trailer.
Yes.
That. But like you said, over the top of the shots, it's because the bodies are so skewed. But we'll say that's helped speed up the cars and helped racing. But we've kind of backtracked a little bit with that.
Yeah, and, and I don't know that now that you've gone down that rabbit hole.
There's no coming back from it.
Right. You can't reel that back in.
It is what it is, and I mean the droop rule. I mean it's a safety measure that they've put in place, and
what do you think about it? Do you like it?
I've got to work with it. I've got to work with it. I'm not the biggest fan of
Everybody's got to work with it.
Yeah, everybody's on the same rule. So I mean, I will say I've spent a lot of hours here on the Spring Smasher pulling droop chains and scratching my head at the workbench, figuring what am I going to do to get this car to be the same as it was last year.
Right.
It's created a lot of headache. I've swore at it, cursed at it. Not been a fan at it. Choose to go to races that didn't have the droop rule than the ones that did have the droop rule. But at the end of the day, like you said, everybody's got to work with it.
Right.
I will say it's taken the box of the race cars that we have to operate in and made that even smaller. So as we said, that 20, 30-pound change that can set you out. Okay, well now we're into shock settings continue out a little bit. So, you're getting that minute and sensitive with these race cars. And I think that's where we see we don't have the margin of someone being that much faster anymore is because no one can be that much faster right now.
There's not much more they can do. Exactly. I mean, at least I'm not seeing it. I mean, I've gotten out of the tech side of it for a couple of years now, and I'm kind of thank God, but I've kind of, I guess like anything, when you're going to school, you're sharper on it, you know what's going on. When you step out of that, man, you miss it like that.
Yeah.
And it made a huge jump, and it's like, wow, yes, I can read rules and pull a tape measure, but man, there's so much has changed in the last couple of years that I haven't been teching, I guess. So it's like, wow, it's like I don't even know what to tell or what to advise somebody, and it's like look at your rules, read your rules, and get with your local tech guy, and that's the best thing I can tell you.
Yes, exactly. But like I said, I've had a little bit of success with it. Some guys have been good on it, but I think the droop rule is probably here to stay. They're probably going to critique it a little bit over the winter, and we'll hear some more stuff about that. If I had to say, they're probably going to fine tune it a little bit. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the droop rule, it's hurt racing a little bit, and I think there's a lot of drivers in the back pocket that would probably agree with that. But you can get mad at the rules all you want. You still show up to the races. You got to race with it.
But the thing about it is, it's the rules for everybody. It's not like you're the only guy having to deal with it. It's the same for everybody. You know, I heard, Kyle Larson said it. I guess it's probably one of the nicest ways that you can say it. When guys are real easy to get on after a race and start bashing the track on how horrible it was. And, Kyle said, hey, the track had maybe a little more character than we're used to, but it was the same for everybody. Yeah. So it's, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Tyler Erb said it best, in a Dirt on Dirt interview not that long ago. He said that he's, fine with it. He's not the biggest fan of it, but if they would get involved, the people that race every day, and ask them, what their thoughts on it was, the rule probably would have been better. Because, I mean, I'm sure everyone else can agree with me. It was like we went into PRI, like, all right, all these series officials are meeting. And then it was like the next hour, everybody's on the droop rule. And all these guys that built these cars are like, all right. Now we got to go back. And what puck do we run? And, I mean, I got a box sitting up there that's probably got every droop chain puck that you could think of running, just trying to figure out what's different, because the different chassis take different ones and figuring out what works the best. And there's a lot of people that had to thrash and put together something like that. Now people are getting good, but we're 3/4 of the way through the racing season, and they're just now figuring out. So I hope if they do critique it a little bit, they ask for some advice and they make it a little bit more level playing field when it comes to that droop rule, and I'll give people some time to work with it.
I just I think it's good that everybody kind of gets on the same page and everybody's, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the net bigger to catch more fish and make it better for everybody. I get that, and that's a great thing because that's what the sport needs. Is it needs everybody to be on the same page and stuff. And I think the days of everybody competing against each other, man, I think if you're still trying to do that, you're out to lunch. You need to be working with people and working with the people that you're trying to get to the track and do everything you can to get them to the track.
Yep. My number one thing when a new customer calls me is, it never fails. 1 out of 5 people that call me, they say, well, I want what he's got. And my direct response to them every time, so if anybody's listening, my response to you will be, you don't drive like them. Yeah. So what works for them won't work for you. I mean, we may be able to use some similarities, but it's going to be different.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I went down, went over to Beckley, West Virginia, and Willard Speedway with Josh Dietz and Jordan Hedrick, 2 of my consulting clients. Both got XR1 race cars.
Sure.
One has Integra shocks, one has Fox shocks on his car. That doesn't make a whole big of a difference besides driver preference, but both cars were fast and they had different setups on the car. So and that just proves to show that, hey, you don't have to have the same thing as an X. Now, grant there's no droop rule in the crate racing right now, so that opens up the box a little bit more. But when I go and work with a guy, I really try to focus on what's going to work for them, and we don't hit it right away because it takes a couple times to open up that level of communication to work with them and all that. But
and you got to see a guy on the track and see what he's doing.
Exactly. I got to know, is that guy going to run at 4 car lengths deep into the corner? Or is he going to run at 2 car lengths deep into the corner? Because that's going to adjust, how I adjust.
Track conditions are going to affect this. A guy's driving style is going to affect this. We say driving style. I've said it a few times, and maybe not everybody watching understands and knows what driving style is, but it's just a simple fact of, I'll give my version of it and you agree or tell me what you think it is. It's everybody's going to drive differently.
Oh yeah.
Everybody enters the corner differently. Everybody gets on the gas differently. Everybody reacts differently to whatever their car's doing.
Yes.
That's your driving style. Some guys are like that. Josh Rice, Bobby Pierce style.
Yep.
That's their style. Some guys are more the Trevor Landrum. Let's get around the bottom, There's different driving styles, and that's going to affect everything. So like you said, I can't give you what this guy's got because it may not work for you.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I can put it on to appease you to make you happy, but when you come out and say, well, that wasn't fast, I'm like, okay, well, now, let's get to the basics. And like you said, Josh Rice, the kid is a wheelman, but what he's got on his race car for that XR1 that works around here is not going to work for any other guy that goes and races at Florence because he's got his own driving style, you know?
Yeah. Not everybody can, I don't know how he does it, but the kid makes it work.
Yep, that's right. That's I will say they've done a great job at figuring out what works for him, and that's why he's been fast. And that's what I preach to each of my clients is we have to figure out what works for you. Once we figure out what works for you and makes you comfortable, you will be fast.
Yeah, I've had those cars back in the day. It's like, man, I don't care who you put in that thing. It was not going to go. I've had those experiences, and they're not always fun.
No, not at all. And I mean, people go out and, everybody who jumped on the Longhorn train this year, they went out and bought a Longhorn and realized why they weren't winning races right out of the gate. It's like, okay, well, you don't drive like Brandon Overton.
You don't drive. You're not Jonathan Davenport.
Right.
You don't have Jason Durham working on your car.
Yeah.
There's some major differences there.
Exactly. So I've had guys call me who have bought a new car and they're like, oh, well, it's just not fast. Something's wrong with my car. But it's like, no, okay. Like,
I got a brand new car. Something's wrong with it.
Right. It's like, no, let's just take some time. Let's figure it out and let's do it. And at the end of the day, 95% of the time, I can't be right all the time, but 95% of the time within a couple races, we're able to get that car close to the speed of where it needs to be and let that person drive it because these cars are different now.
Sure.
I mean, from when I drove to where I jumped back in the car and, I ran Austin's car at a test session last year and I drove Dietz's car at a test session this year, and the difference in the way that the chassis handled compared when I raced is a big difference. So I know people are having to adjust their driving style now. So when I talk to people who get new cars and stuff like that, it's like, okay, let's get it comfortable for you, and then I want you to go drive it for 3 races. Let's not make any changes. Drive it for 3 races.
You got to get used to it.
Yeah.
I seen a picture earlier this year, and I like it. I probably agree with it a lot. I'm not gonna say 100%, but it's pretty accurate. It was a picture of Nick Snell, car up on a lift, kids working on his car.
Yep.
They're saying this is what wins races. Yeah, you got to work on them.
Yep.
You got to do your homework. You got to understand them inside and out. I never liked. I mean, this was just me, but I
Mhm.
never liked buying a car that was race ready and go.
Right.
I want to take every nut
Yep.
and bolt apart and understand
Yep.
what this does and where this needs to be and what's it doing.
Exactly.
I feel like the more you understand it, the more you can work with it and
100%.
get the best out of it.
Yeah, 100%. Not, I always recommend when a client comes on board that we do what we call shop setup. Go over there. Let's go through the front end, the rear end. Let's scale that car. Make sure your percentages are right, your ride height's not. Because I can come to the racetrack. Yeah, we might get a little bit better, but if there's an underlying problem where your right front camber's off, the caster's
You're not
off,
always going to find that at the racetrack.
You can't. It's very, very hard to do that. So, like you said, that helps me understand. Hey, what do they truly have going on?
Sure.
And then, okay, now let's go and be fast.
Yeah. So it helps you do your job better, make them faster.
Exactly. It does. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time. I mean, because for me to go through a car and smash the springs usually takes about 8 hours, to go through that. But when that car leaves the shop, we know that everything on that car is where it's supposed to be, and we can go to the track and make the appropriate changes.
I've said this and had this conversation. Gosh, I just try to express to people, the viewers and the fans, that man, they don't realize how much of a full-time job this is. I mean, at any level. I mean, there are people that travel and do it every weekend, and that's their livelihood.
Yes.
But your weekend warriors, your guy that do it every Friday and Saturday night, your local racers, man, these cars are. It's not just something you jump in and have fun on the weekend.
No, those days are long gone now.
Yeah, yes. they are. So before we get into some more of the consulting, and I want to get into that.
Yep.
Let's talk about Ethan outside the shop.
Okay.
Let's get to know Ethan when he's not working on a race car or smashing springs and all this. Let's get to know Ethan. What's a typical hobby? What do you like to do to unwind?
Yeah, well, usually that time's very small. I mean, as you know,
you got the week of Christmas.
Yeah, you got the week of Christmas. Even then, after that, it's game over from there. But no. In my off time, I do enjoy going to the lake. My parents have a houseboat, and they did a lot for me when I raced. And they took a lot of sacrifices to race. So to see them have something that they enjoy to go and like and do on the weekends is fun. And
Cumberland or Norris?
Lake Cumberland.
Okay.
Yep, down at Conley Bottom. So I've got a pontoon boat down there with them too, so I get to go down there and enjoy that a little bit.
Yeah.
And hang out on the houseboat with them. And when I go down there, I typically turn my phone off, get completely away from racing.
Leave that thing in the parking lot.
And I love going out there on the lake, tying up with some other buddies on, on their boat.
Just doing lake stuff.
That's right, just doing lake stuff all day, for the weekend, and then you come back on Monday and get to it. And
God, that sounds so good. Grilling out and drinking beers and being on the lake.
That's right. Yeah,
it sounds great. I don't know what it's like, but it sounds great.
Yeah, just having a good time. And outside that, in the wintertime, there's a little bit of delay and off season, but enjoy hanging out with friends. I still got that little bit of party years left in me, so trying to enjoy that while I can. So enjoy getting everybody together, and we at least one time every winter, everybody from around here that pretty much races Florence, Moeller, Lawrenceburg, all of our buddies that we kind of know, we try to get together downtown at least once. You may not be the best buddies at the racetrack, but it's very cool. You get people outside of that space, and we all go hang out and have a good time.
Everybody for the most time, people get along pretty good.
Exactly. So I enjoy doing that, especially in the cooler months when there's nothing going on.
You guys ever go and do any of the go-kart racing stuff?
We did that a couple times, but a lot of the times the go-kart places don't like when people that race cars actually show up to go race the go-karts.
Been there. Done
yeah, so we kind of said, it's probably better that we don't do that.
We'll just leave the racing to the racetrack.
Yes, exactly.
I got you. What kind of music are you into? What do you listen to when you're on the way to the lake?
Yeah.
You podcasting? What are you listening to?
Even on the I listen to anything that's got a good beat.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's some 80s rock, new rock, a little bit of R&B, hip-hop, country.
Right.
I mean, I'll listen to it all. I don't discriminate when it comes to that. Now, we start playing some slow jazz, I might get a little upset, but that's it.
I got to really feel it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, man, my range of music is all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be surprised. I mean, if I plug my phone in and start turning some stuff on, you're going to get some Lady Gaga. You're going to get some Metallica. I mean,
that's right.
I am all over the place.
Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of it on. I mean, on the shelves you can't see it, but I do have some big speakers up there. So when I am in here by myself, working on springs, sure. I'm listening to a variety of music. So you stop by here on a weeknight, we're not doing a podcast. There'll probably be some different genres of music playing on while we're making stuff happen in here.
Right. Yeah, you got to have something to change it up a little bit. I've got playlists from YouTube, and I've got them labeled. Okay, this is my work music, or this is my motorcycle ride music. This is my whatever.
Yep.
And then some of them are pretty. The variety's there.
Yeah, I can tell you that's the way it is in my phone right now. Like we've got. Like to go to Destin a lot. In Austin's podcast, he said that we usually go to Destin down there with him and that group. And I got a Destin party playlist. I've got a Cumberland boat music rock playlist. I've got country playlist, and then I got house party playlist. So and all that's got the different stuff in there.
I've got one that's I got a racetrack playlist. So like Moeller, for instance, if I get there before Mike, if Mike's running late, or if I'm even announcing that night, hey, we got to have some tunes. Before racing starts. So I got a playlist that's just that friendly-ish.
Yeah, just kind of set the vibe a little bit.
Right, but it's got to have a little bit of variety to it. Yes. It's going to have some country in there and some old school rock and roll.
For sure.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything in
there.
Yeah,
you got to mix it up some.
Yeah. So, cool. Got a favorite restaurant?
Ooh, favorite restaurant.
Yeah, let's get into the good stuff.
Myself, one of the things I do enjoy is I got a smoker out here. Enjoy smoking food. I'd be brisket,
do a lot of cooking
ribs,
and grilling, do you?
Yeah, some chicken wings. We'll do different stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't see no grill when we walked in. Man,
no,
we didn't get that in.
No, but I enjoy doing that. But favorite restaurant wise, man, that's tough because
like I said, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in our area.
There is. There's a lot. I will say probably my favorite here lately is El Pueblo's right here, just right around the corner from my house. It's a little Mexican place, but it's like authentic Mexican place. It's not one of the franchise big Mexican places. It's not. It's not American Mexican. It's truly like
it's not a Taco Bell.
No, it's not not a Taco Bell. Yeah, it's a true Mexican place, and I will say I do enjoy that. My fiance and myself, Kayla, we'll go down there maybe once a month at least with our busy schedules, just to make sure we stop in and enjoy that place.
Huh. So speaking of busy schedule, I hear you got a big event coming up here in a month or so.
Yeah, so I'm getting married in November. Kayla, she's been with me for a while, and we're finally going to tie the knot here in November.
Make an honest woman out of her.
Yes, that's right, honest man out of me. Yeah, but it's after racing season, so anybody watching don't have to worry. It won't take me away from
November.
That. Yeah, well, and that helps because a lot of my friends that are in racing, they're going to be able to attend and have seen us together, and you've been to the racetrack with us. So we're going to get to do that and looking forward to it. As we kind of talked off the air, all the little details are starting to come into play, and it's like they keep adding up. But she's done a great job at managing all that and handling everything. So it'll be a fun day.
That's awesome. Well, wish you guys best of luck.
Thank you.
It's weddings are fun.
Yes, it'll be a good time. I will say, if it was the guys that I have in my wedding party, if it was anything like the bachelor party, it'll be a good time in Blue Ash in November.
Nice. We will. I'll keep the police scanner on. If you need anything.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna jump back to the consulting. Mm-hmm. Let's say somebody needs to get a hold of you, and they need, hey, Ethan, I need some help.
Yep.
What's the first step? What do they do?
Yeah. First step, Facebook, Burgess Motorsports Consulting LLC. We're out there on Facebook. If you can see any of the banners, and I'm sure we'll pan out at the end of the podcast the way you can see that. But my number is 513-477-2311. We'll talk, have a conversation. I always make sure we get on the phone, have that conversation first, and figure out what's going to work best for that person.
Sure.
Yep.
That's important. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's got to be that good, clear communication.
Yeah.
Hey, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm expecting.
Yes.
And I don't know. Maybe some people don't really have realistic expectations sometimes.
Right.
And I think, hey, okay, let's
exactly
down to earth.
Right.
Truth time. Here's where we need to be.
Here's what needs to be. You're just not gonna, pay me money. I'm gonna show up to the racetrack, and you're magically gonna go out and set quick time at the World 100.
Right.
Let's talk. Let's set some realistic expectations and figure out what needs to be done and what we can do about it.
So that 1982 Howe car I got's probably not gonna get us there. Right?
Man, I may have to recommend you to somebody else on that one. No, I mean, just with the way the technology's been lately, if you're not in something, 2014 or newer, it's going to be very difficult to try to get you up to speed with those guys. And that's not dogging anybody that's got the older chassis. I mean, people get what they can afford and like to have fun doing, but to get the car to the level that it's at now, you got to have some of that updated technology.
Yeah, the technology we have, and like you said, maybe since 14, and that is just, it's not saying that an old car can't be fast, but typically, man, here's where we're at. We're in the fast world, and it's modern stuff. It's going to get you there.
Yes, and I mean, towards the end of the year here, and Slingin Dirt Media is going to hear this first, so this will be a first one. But we're going to be able to help our clients even farther with what we've been doing. Right now, we've got the dyno, we've got the spring smasher, we've got the tools to go set up the car. So I can really handle that. But what we haven't been able to do yet is really dig into the insides of the shocks, and develop those for that driver. Change the tuning in it, make it valuable for them. And I've partnered with ML Performance through that. Matt Logan's helped me a bunch through my racing career.
Sure.
And even with this consulting stuff a little bit. So me and him are coming together, and we're going to launch ML Performance Midwest up here.
Nice.
By the end of the year. So
by the end of this year.
By the end of this year. Yeah.
So that's coming. That's right around the corner.
So we plan to be up and running to service those ML customers in this Midwest area, because him being based out of Charlotte, sometimes it's hard to get stuff for him, to him, and then turn it back around to get somebody race ready for the weekend. So we're going to be able to have that capability up here.
Nice.
With my clients that I bring on board, and then the ML customers in this area. So we're going to be able to add extra service to those clients and any new clients. We're going to be able to freshen, rebuild, repair most of the shocks on the market here. We're gonna limit it down, but we're still gonna have the capacity to, service all those brands. We're gonna stick to some of the major ones, but we're not gonna, turn people away if it's a brand that we can service. Between me and him, we've got most of them covered.
Find a way to help them out some way.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well,
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard the news here.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, good luck with that. And
thank you.
Hope all that goes smooth.
Yes.
Wedding stuff, I know, like you said, I know that's just plugging away and getting closer and closer. So
yes, it is.
Good luck again with that.
Thank you.
Anybody else you need to thank or mention before we sign off?
Man, I will say I just got to thank, my mom, my dad, my grandpa. They're the ones that got me started in racing. And if I didn't have a love for dirt racing, like I did, I probably wouldn't want to take this business venture on to, help other people and share the knowledge that I know. My brother, he lends a helping hand whenever I need it, when it comes to the consulting or the motorsport stuff.
Right.
And then Kayla, she's been the biggest supporter. When I sat down and had this conversation with her and said, hey, here's what I want to do. I know I've got a full-time job, but I want to do, this as well, and this is where I want it to be in 3 years. And, she looked right at me and said, what do we got to do to make it happen?
Yeah.
So, and she's involved in it with the social media posts and some of the finance side of things.
Awesome.
So, I owe it to everybody that's been in, my back corner helping me through this.
Good deal. Well, Ethan, you got a great story, man. Hope everybody enjoys this episode.
Yes.
Anybody that needs help, struggling, anything, go see our boy Ethan here, and we'll get you lined up. I'm like, oh, which camera here? So we're going to sign off. Slingin Dirt Media here. Dirty 30. That's pretty close to 30-ish. Yeah. So Dirty 30 here with Ethan Burgess. Slingin Dirt Media YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you at the track. Thanks.